Welcome to the Immigrantinlaw channel. For many people, moving to the European Union begins with choosing a country, a program, and calculating a budget. But in practice, it's the paperwork that often ends up being the stage where people lose weeks, and sometimes even months. The reason is simple: preparation starts too late, when the departure date has already been set, applications have been submitted, or even a job has been found. If you're planning to move to the EU, it's important to understand the sooner you gather the basic set of documents, the smoother and faster the entire process will go. In this video, we'll break down which documents you should prepare in advance, why this is so important, and what to pay special attention to so you don't run into unpleasant delays. You should start with the most important document, your international passport. First of all, check its expiration date right now, even if you think there's still plenty of time before your move. In many cases, your passport must be valid not only at the time of entry, but also for several months afterward. Moreover, this is important not only for crossing the border, but also for submitting documents and completing other mandatory procedures after arrival. If your passport is nearing its expiration date, don't delay in renewing it. At first glance, this seems like a simple technical matter, but in practice, it is often the very reason for unnecessary rush, rescheduling, and delays in submission. This is a fundamental point that many take for granted, yet it is the one most frequently overlooked at the very start of the preparation process. The next important section consists of documents confirming your identity and marital status. These include a birth certificate, marriage certificate, divorce certificate, documents regarding a change of surname, as well as children's birth certificates if the entire family is planning to move. It's best to check in advance the condition of all these documents, whether you have the originals, whether they've been lost, and whether you need to reobtain certain certificates or official records. Even if it seems at first that you won't need these documents right away, in most European countries, they may be requested at various stages when enrolling children in schools, registering your residence, obtaining insurance, or accessing other administrative services. In addition, these are often the documents used to confirm family ties, family composition, and the right to relocate together. Therefore, it's best not to leave this until the last minute. The sooner you gather your personal and family documents, the easier it will be to complete the subsequent formalities without unnecessary delays or a last-minute search for missing papers. It is very important to prepare not only the originals, but also properly formatted copies in advance. In many cases, simply having the necessary document on hand is not enough to submit it. It must meet the formal requirements of the country to which you plan to move. This applies to the quality of the copies, the format of the translation, and the certification process. In many cases, documents must be translated by a sworn or certified translator. Sometimes an apostille or another form of legalization is required. In certain situations, notarized copies may also be needed, especially when it comes to documents confirming identity, marital status, education, or custody rights. It is precisely at this stage that people often waste time because they learn about the requirements too late, when deadlines are already looming. As a result, they have to urgently search for a translator, revise documents, or reorder certain certificates. To avoid such delays, it is best to compile a complete list of all personal and family documents before moving and check in advance which ones will require translation, an apostille, notarization, or another form of certification specifically for the country you are moving to. Special attention should be paid to educational documents. Degrees, degree supplements, diplomas, certificates of additional training, and proof of qualifications. It is advisable to prepare all of these in advance, even if it seems to you now that you won't need these documents immediately after moving. In practice, they often become an important part of further paperwork and professional development in your new country. Even if you are moving not for work, but for example for family reasons or to start a business, educational documents may be needed later for employment, recognition of qualifications, enrollment in courses, changing your basis of stay, or professional adaptation. In addition, in some cases, it is not only the diploma itself that matters, but also the transcript attached to it, which lists the courses, credit hours, and major. Therefore, it is best to gather a complete set of these documents in advance, check their condition, and, if necessary, prepare translations and copies. This will give you more opportunities after moving and prevent a situation where you have to urgently request the necessary document while already abroad. The next section covers documents related to employment and professional experience. Prepare your employment record book if you have one, certificates from your employer, letters of recommendation, proof of work experience, job descriptions, tax documents, or other proof of employment. All of this can play an important role after you move, especially if you plan not just to live in an EU country, but to build a professional career there. In some cases, such documents are required to verify work experience, especially if you are hoping to find employment in your field, participate in professional programs, or subsequently apply for residency based on employment. In this context, it is not only the fact of employment that matters, but also the details, your responsibilities, length of service, level of qualification, and the specifics of the position. Therefore, it's best to gather all possible proof of your professional experience in advance, while you still have easy access to them. This will help you feel more confident when job hunting and spare you the need to urgently retrieve the necessary documents after you've already moved. Financial documents also play an important role. Very often, proof of sufficient funds is required for relocation. For European authorities, this is one of the key factors because it shows that you are ready to relocate not only formally, but also from a practical standpoint. Therefore, you should prepare bank statements, income documents, tax returns, pay stubs, and property lease or sale agreements in advance if they confirm the source of funds. In some cases, you may also need documents regarding savings, account activity, or proof of regular income. It is important that all these documents are up to date, understandable to the foreign authority or consulate, and accompanied by a translation if necessary. The sooner you get the financial part in order, the lower the risk that questions, delays, or the need to urgently gather additional proof will arise at this stage. Documents related to the absence of restrictions are no less important. This primarily refers to a criminal record check. In many EU countries, it is part of the mandatory package for the initial application and is considered one of the basic documents confirming your good character within the immigration process. It is important to note that the certificate itself is not merely a formality. Requirements for this certificate may vary depending on the reason for relocation and the specific country. Some places focus on its validity period, while others require an apostille, translation, or proper formatting for submission to a specific authority. However, this certificate has an expiration date, so it is important not to apply for it too early, but also not to wait until the last week. It is best to clarify the time requirements for a specific country in advance and calculate the timing for receiving the document correctly. This approach will help avoid a situation where a certificate that is already ready becomes invalid at the worst possible moment and has to be reissued. If you are moving with children, the list of documents becomes significantly longer, and it is best to prepare for this in advance. You'll need to gather not only birth certificates but also medical records, vaccination records, school report cards, character references, certificates from educational institutions, and in some cases, the other parent's consent for the child to travel or reside abroad. The younger the child and the more complex the family situation, the more thoroughly this set of documents is typically reviewed. It's important to understand that children's documents may be needed for several purposes at once, not only for immigration procedures, but also for enrolling in school or daycare, obtaining insurance, registering with medical facilities, and confirming the child's right to reside with you. Therefore, it's best to check in advance whether you have all the necessary documents on hand, whether they are up to date, and whether they require translation or certification. Many families find that it is precisely the children's documents that are not ready, and this delays the move more than any other issue. To avoid this situation, it is best to gather this set of documents in advance and treat it not as an additional formality, but as one of the most important parts of the overall preparation. Medical documents constitute a separate category. They are not always included in the basic list of required documents for relocation, but in practice, they often prove extremely useful in the first weeks and months after arrival. This is especially important when you need to continue seeing a doctor, confirm your medical history, or quickly explain the specifics of your health condition in your new country. Bring along medical records of past illnesses, information about chronic conditions, prescriptions, treatment plans, reports from specialists, and vaccination records. It's helpful to gather everything in advance that you might need when visiting a clinic, applying for insurance, or consulting with a new doctor. The more detailed and clear this package is, the easier it will be for you to get through the adjustment period without unnecessary stress. If you take medication regularly, it is especially important to prepare documents confirming the necessity of treatment, the dosage schedule, and the specialist's prescription. After moving, this can save you not only time but also stress, especially during the first few months of adjustment, when any health-related issues are best resolved quickly and calmly. Another important point that is often underestimated is preparing digital copies of your documents. Make high-quality scans of the entire set and save them in several places. on a secure cloud service, on a separate storage device, and if necessary, in your email. It's best if all files are clearly legible, neatly labeled, and organized into folders so that when the time comes, you can quickly find exactly the document you need. Originals can be lost, damaged, or temporarily unavailable, especially during a move when some items are in transit and others are scattered in different locations. But if you have a clear digital copy, many issues can be resolved much faster. Sometimes a scan is exactly what allows you to quickly submit an application, verify data, send documents to a specialist, or retrieve the necessary information without unnecessary hassle. Therefore, a digital archive is not just a convenience, but an additional layer of security. The better you organize your electronic copies in advance, the more at ease you'll feel in any unforeseen situation after the move. It's also helpful to sort your documents into categories in advance: personal, family, educational, financial, work-related, and medical. This approach may seem simple, but in practice, it's exactly what helps you avoid confusion and unnecessary stress while preparing for the move. When every document is in its place, it's much easier to keep track of the entire set and identify what's missing. This significantly simplifies the submission process at the consulate, as well as communication with lawyers, employers, educational institutions, and government agencies. Instead of frantically searching for the right document among dozens of papers, you'll be able to quickly assemble exactly the set required for a specific procedure. This is especially important in situations where documents need to be submitted in stages and at different times. When everything is organized systematically, you don't waste time frantically searching for the right document at the most critical moment. Moreover, this level of organization helps you identify weaknesses in your document package in advance and calmly address them before moving without unnecessary rush or mistakes. And most importantly, don't rely solely on a general list from the internet. Such a list can give you a general idea, but it almost never takes into account all the specifics of your particular situation. Every EU country has its own requirements, and sometimes even within a single country. The list of documents depends on the reason for your move, the type of application, your family composition, and the purpose of your stay. Work, study, business, family reunification, financial independence. The set of documents can vary for each option. Moreover, not only the documents themselves may differ, but also the requirements for translation, certification, the validity periods of certificates, and the application procedure. That is precisely why, in practice, there is no universal package that will suit everyone without exception. Therefore, it's best to start the basic preparation early and then tailor the package to your specific situation. This approach helps you avoid mistakes, save time on unnecessary documents, and focus specifically on the steps that are truly important for your move. To summarize, before moving to the EU, you should prepare the following in advance: a valid passport, documents regarding birth and marital status, documents for your children, diplomas and proof of qualifications, employment and work history documents, financial proof, a criminal record check, medical documents, as well as scans and translations of all important records. The sooner you start working on your documents, the more flexibility you'll have in the next steps. Conversely, the longer you delay preparation, the higher the likelihood that your already finalized relocation plan will be held up by a single certificate, a single translation, or a single missing document. If you're just planning to immigrate to the EU, submit a request for a free consultation with Immigrantinlaw's lawyers. We'll develop the optimal relocation strategy for you, prepare the entire necessary document package, explain the nuances of the legislation in detail, and answer all your questions. We'll analyze your case, your goals, and your situation without using templates. Want to learn more or start the process today? Contact us. All contact details are listed in the description below this video. We're here to help you take a confident step toward a new life. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ask your questions in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. Discover a world of opportunities with Immigrantinlaw.